We are told from the moment we are young to build our self-esteem. We are told to believe in our own specialness, to cultivate an unshakable sense of self-worth, and to construct an identity that can stand up against the weight of the world. But there is a dangerous, quiet trap hidden inside that advice. In our desperate modern quest to build ourselves up, we often end up cultivating something entirely different. We build an ego. In his landmark book, Ego is the Enemy, author Ryan Holiday reveals a vital distinction that most people miss. Ego wants recognition, but true self-esteem wants action. Ego is an unhealthy belief in our own importance, a pathological need to be perceived as great before we have even put in the work. Self-esteem, on the other hand, is an unshakable confidence grounded in reality, humility, and raw evidence. The hard part about ego and self-esteem is that they look almost identical from the outside, but one is an engine that drives you forward, while the other is a bomb waiting to destroy everything you build. To truly understand this battle, we have to look at the three distinct phases of any human journey: aspiration, success, and failure. No matter where you are in your life right now, you are living in one of these three states. And in each state, ego is working overtime to sabotage your genuine self-esteem. Let us start at the beginning, in the phase of aspiration. This is when you are young, or starting a new venture, or trying to reinvent yourself. You have big goals, massive dreams, and a blank slate ahead of you. This is exactly where ego loves to strike first, and its weapon of choice is talk. Think about the modern world we live in. When someone decides to start a new diet, write a book, or launch a business, what is the very first thing they do? They go onto social media and announce it to the world. They talk about what they are going to do. They post a beautifully framed picture of a blank notebook or a gym membership card. And what happens next? The likes pour in. The comments fill up with praise. Good for you, people say. You are so inspiring, they write. Neurobiologists have shown that when you receive praise for a goal you have merely announced, your brain releases dopamine. It tastes the reward of validation before you have actually achieved anything. Your mind becomes confused. It mistakes the talk for progress. Your ego whispers in your ear that you have already won, that you are already the person you want to be. And because your ego has already eaten the reward, the actual drive to sit down, shut up, and do the grueling work vanishes. This is the classic conflict between what the military strategist John Boyd called the choice, to be or to do. Boyd would ask his young officers, which way will you go? Will you choose to be somebody, or will you choose to do something? To be somebody means chasing the title, the promotion, the validation, and the status. It means letting your ego dictate your identity. To do something means focusing purely on the work, on the impact, and on the mission, regardless of whether anyone gives you a round of applause. Ego wants to be somebody. Self-esteem wants to do something. When you choose self-esteem in the aspirational phase, you commit to becoming a perpetual student. The pretense of knowledge is our most dangerous vice because it prevents us from getting any better. If you already think you know everything, if you already believe you are a genius, you stop listening. You stop practicing. You stop observing. True self-esteem is quiet enough to look in the mirror and say, I am not as good as I need to be yet, but I have the capacity to learn and put in the hours to get there. It trades the short-term gratification of public talk for the long-term payoff of private mastery. But let us say you push through the talk. You put your head down, you work, and against the odds, you reach the second phase, success. You get the money, the recognition, the high-status title, or the perfect relationship. You have made it. Surely, you think, the battle with ego is over. In reality, success is when ego becomes truly lethal. When you are aspiring, the world naturally checks your ego. Reality hits you hard, resources are scarce, and people don't care who you are. But when you succeed, the world begins to tell you exactly what you want to hear. Flatterers appear out of nowhere. People start laughing at jokes that aren't funny. People start calling you a visionary, a genius, an anomaly. This is where ego creates massive, catastrophic blind spots. It convinces you that the habits which got you to the top are no longer necessary. It tells you that you are above the rules, that your instincts are infallible, and that you no longer need to study or listen to advice. Ego takes the sober, disciplined execution that created your success and replaces it with arrogance, delusion, and entitlement. It makes you believe your own hype. Think of historical figures like Alexander the Great or corporate empires that collapsed overnight. They did not fail because they lacked talent. They failed because their success inflated their ego to a point where they could no longer see reality. They stopped tracking their faults. They started fighting with their allies. They assumed that because they were successful in one area, they were masters of the universe. True self-esteem handles success entirely differently. True self-esteem operates on what legendary football coach John Wooden called an internal scorecard. When your ego runs the show, you measure your worth by what other people say about you, by your bank account, or by how many people are looking at you. You tie your well-being to things you cannot control. But when you possess genuine self-esteem, you measure yourself against your own potential, the absolute best that you are capable of. If you win a game but play poorly, self-esteem is sober enough to be dissatisfied and go back to practice. If you lose a game but played at the absolute limit of your capability, self-esteem allows you to sleep peacefully at night. Self-esteem does not need the spotlight to feel validated, and it does not allow public praise to rot its internal standards. Success, to a person of high self-esteem, is simply an indicator that the system worked, but the system must still be run with discipline every single day. But what happens when the wheels come off? Because eventually, they do. No one stays at the top forever. This brings us to the third phase, failure. Whether it is a bankruptcy, a public scandal, a bitter divorce, or a creative project that completely bombs, failure is inevitable. And when failure hits, the difference between ego and self-esteem becomes a matter of psychological life or death. When an egotistical person faces failure, it is an existential crisis. Because their entire identity is built on the illusion of being perfect, special, and superior, a failure cannot just be an objective event. It becomes a deep, narcissistic injury. The ego cannot accept that it made a mistake, so it immediately looks for scapegoats. It lashes out in anger, blame, and resentment. It says, "This isn't fair, the system is rigged, people are out to get me." By refusing to accept reality, the ego blocks any possibility of recovery. It turns a temporary slip into a permanent, catastrophic fall. It grips and claws so tightly to what it lost that it shatters the remaining pieces to dust. Self-esteem, however, is resilient. Because it is grounded in reality, it doesn't view failure as a destruction of identity, but as feedback. When a person with true self-esteem fails, they are able to detach their ego from the situation. They look at the ruin and say, "Okay, this happened. It hurts, it is disappointing, but it does not mean I am worthless. It means my strategy was wrong, or the circumstances changed, or I need to work harder." Self-esteem allows you to maintain your poise, your patience, and your purpose during a crisis. It allows you to go back to the drawing board, back to the aspirational phase, back to first principles, without feeling like your soul has been erased. So, what is the hard part about ego and self-esteem? The hard part is that this is not a battle you win once and walk away from. Ryan Holiday uses a beautiful, brutal metaphor at the end of his book. Keeping your ego at bay is exactly like keeping your house clean. You cannot sweep the floor once and declare that your house is clean forever. The moment you stop looking, the dust begins to settle. It drifts in through the windows, it tracks in through the doors, and it accumulates silently in the corners. Ego is that dust. Every single day you wake up, your ego is right there waiting for you. It settles into your mind the minute you achieve something small. It settles when someone gives you a compliment. It settles when you read a bad comment and feel the urge to fight back and prove how smart you are. You have to sweep the floor every minute of every day. You have to continuously check yourself. You have to ask yourself in every situation, am I doing this for the recognition, or am I doing this for the work? Am I letting my pride blind me to my weaknesses? Am I treating a minor setback as the end of the world? The ultimate truth is that ego is a parasite that feeds on your potential and leaves you hollow. It promises you confidence, but it delivers only fragility. True self-esteem requires you to kill that ego daily. It demands that you embrace humility, that you value execution over chatter, and that you tie your worth entirely to your own effort and character. If you want to build a life that lasts, if you want to be truly unshakable in the face of success and failure, you must stop trying to be someone impressive to the world. You must focus entirely on doing the work that matters. Sweep the floor, kill your ego, and let your reality speak for itself.